Coming up on this week's episode, talking points on Sean Dyche and the two FA Cup semi-finals. It's my turn in the hot seat as Liam is the quiz host this week. More on Wonders of White and Who Am I? So let's get started. Hello and welcome to this week's podcast. It's Chris here, and as always, it's Liam as well. Hello, Liam.
Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Okay. Slight disappointment, Champions League last week, but through to the FA Cup final. So,
true.
I suppose,
anticlimax. It was looking so good.
Oh, it's just one of those where you just. I think they literally played the perfect game for about 80 minutes. And then when Real Madrid scored, it just seemed to just take its toll on the players, and they just looked really tired all of a sudden. So, I don't know. But, to get it back to where it was, they did pretty well. So,
yeah,
cannot complain.
It was a real game of it, to be fair. I thought, tactically he got it spot on. It was a really, really entertaining game to watch for the neutral, which I was. I think you can hold your heads high on that one.
So we've we'll go over to talking points from this weekend, and obviously the biggest one being that Sean Dyche has left Burnley, which I think kind of shocked most people because I think he's been there for 8 years, I think I saw, which in manager terms is fairly long. So, and he's always, from what I remember, he's always been associated with Burnley. So it was quite strange to see that he's actually left. Obviously, a few points on this. I find it very strange how they've done it now.
Yeah.
And not just waited till the end of the season.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't really make the time. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know about you. Why?
No, I think they've obviously struggled this season as a whole. If they'd have made this decision at Christmas, I could have understood it. Give the new manager a January transfer window to try and get them out of it, which is kind of what Villa had done. And Watford did that, I think. Roy Hodgson was just before Christmas that he came in. It's the sort of usual thing for a team down the bottom. They sacked their manager just before Christmas. Newcastle did it. Eddie Howe's doing really well. But to leave it so late, it reminds me a bit of Watford a couple of years ago when it looked like it was going to be close, but Pearson looked like they were saving them. And they sacked Pearson with 5 games to go, I think, something like that. I'm talking.
Yeah, it was.
And then lost all their remaining games. Obviously, I know that this weekend Burnley drew, and it's a good draw away at West Ham. But it seems very strange that a manager that's been there so long is really clearly highly thought of amongst the players, the fans.
Yeah.
Why don't you just give him the chance to get you to the end of the season, to get you out of it? He's earned the right to do that, I think.
Yeah, don't you think with they do look like the team that are going to go to the third team that are going to go down, but surely Sean Dyche would be one of the best candidates to get you back up into the Premier League, which is also why I found it really, really strange. Now, I don't know whether something's been lined up for next season. I don't know. I don't know their sorts of budgets. They've never really spent huge money in transfer windows, Burnley, and some would say that they don't play the most attractive of football, but they've for the past sort of 4 or 5 seasons they've done what they've needed to stay in the Premier League.
And they've done it comfortably. This is the thing. This is the first year where they've really been in proper danger, I would say. I know the last few years they've been in the bottom half, but they've always looked fairly comfortable. And like you say, if say Watford did it now, if Watford got rid of Hodgson because they're in a similar position to Burnley, or if Everton got rid of Lampard, Sean Dyche would be the first one on their shortlist to come in. And I think there's not always a better option out there. I don't know who they've got lined up. It kind of surprised me that there isn't someone in place already, because to sack a manager that the club, he's a club legend, you would have thought they'd have someone lined up pretty soon, but it doesn't look like they have. There's still no news on a new manager today. So I am totally confused by it, if I'm being totally honest. Unless the only thing I can think of is that he's maybe said to the board, if we go down, I don't want to stay. And so they've thought, well, we'll get rid of him now to see if somebody else can keep us in the league. But I can't see him saying to be perfect.
It doesn't seem like they've got anyone lined up right now, and I think they'll, unless that person was going to be appointed sort of within 48 hours of Sean Dyche, leaving, I would have thought that they're probably going to stick it out to what they've got and recruit a new manager in the summer. But it's just a very, very strange decision, and most of the tweets I've seen on Twitter have been sort of in admiration of what he's done for the football club and what he's done for the town.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a pub named after him as well. So this in Burnley, he obviously did something right. And it's not, what was it, 2-3 seasons ago they actually made it into Europe. So
I mean, for that size, and like you say, they don't spend much in the summer.
Yeah.
Normally, the players they do buy are British talent.
He got the most out of sort of their full capacity, really, didn't he? Out of players, and he never, from what I've seen, from what you hear and what you see on social media, he was never one to complain that he never had any, money. He would always, the money that he did have, he invested well. And I thought the striker that they bought in January, Weghorst, I thought was actually a really good signing for them. Yeah. He's exactly the player that they need, because they've always really played with that sort of target man in the middle. But it's
you never liked a trip to Burnley either. I think from an opposition point of view, the fact that he, like you say, he didn't play the most attractive of football, but the work rate and effort that he got out of the players every single game was purely down to him, and it was purely down to him motivating the players and getting the best out of them. And you never enjoyed a trip to Burnley. You always knew it was going to be difficult. They'd scrap for everything. They'd run further than you would, be stronger than you would, and you always had to find creative ways to win. And I don't know if a new manager could bring that. I don't know who's available that could bring that to Burnley for the rest of the season, or to get them back up next season. It'll be interesting to see who they go with, I think.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I really don't think he'll struggle to find a job. I think he'll probably be linked to a few Premier League clubs in the summer as well. So.
I would imagine so, yeah.
We shall move on now to the two FA Cup games, the semi-finals at the weekend. We'll start at the Man City-Liverpool game. Now, I would have thought that when Pep went into this game, he didn't envisage the first half going as how it went, and especially for how the goalkeeper having a slight blunder. For the it was the Mane goal, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Really, really poor from Man City, and probably the worst I've actually seen them when I've seen them live this season. They looked very unorganised, and I think the early goal for Liverpool, I think it took them aback, I think, and they seemed to really, really struggle to get into the game and create any real, good chances in the first half.
Yeah, I think so. And it was interesting that I know he likes to tinker and rotate here and there, and he likes to keep players fit. They're fighting in a lot of competitions, but for a semi-final against Liverpool, to play your second choice goalkeeper. Looking at the team, I think Ake played. He's not played much this season. Zinchenko has been sort of in and out. Grealish obviously started. Sterling, I think, was up front. I think if I'm Liverpool, I'm looking at that starting 11. I'm thinking, brilliant, let's take them. No Diaz. I know he's been injured recently, but he was on the bench. But again, only one change from Guardiola, which we spoke about.
Yeah.
When they played Palace and they struggled, and he didn't change. There was no subs. And 3-0 down at half time. I mean, I'm from the days of Mourinho, bringing off half the squad at half time when Chelsea would lose, and he'd make 3 changes at half time.
Even before half time sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And there was, one change to bring Mahrez on late in the game. Obviously, he felt confident that team could get back into it, but it's, I think, too little, too late, really.
Yeah, I don't know what he said to them at half time, but obviously whatever he did say, it helped. I'd say in stages. I mean, they created a lot more second half than what they did first half. But I still wouldn't think that they were, amazing by any shot. If anything, Liverpool probably stepped off the gas a little bit and allowed Man City to actually start playing. So, but yeah, it was actually a good game for the neutral, and for obviously any Liverpool fan watching the first half for them. They definitely exploited sort of like you touched on the changes that were being made by Pep Guardiola. But I'm with you on that one. I find it strange that to change your goalkeeper. I know the goalkeeper's probably played most of the FA Cup games this season, but when you're on, it's not a given that they're going to win all the other trophies that they're still in. So now they're out of the FA Cup. They can still win the league and obviously the Champions League as well. But
I always find it an odd one that I know there's only one goalkeeper on the pitch for each team. So if you've got a number one and you're not number one, I know that your opportunities are limited. And I know that FA Cup games are a good chance to give your other keepers a run in the side. But goalkeepers don't get tired. Goalkeepers don't run for 10k a game or more. You don't need to change your goalkeeper. A goalkeeper could play every single day of the week.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be tired, wouldn't be feeling the effects of too many games. So, and this is from somebody who used to play in goal, I really don't like this thought of a second choice goalkeeper coming in. I don't mind it so much like Liverpool have Kelleher, and I know he's come through the youth team.
Yeah.
To give him minutes, to give him a chance, because he's not going to get the experience to sort of take over maybe from Alisson further down the line unless he plays these cup games. But Stefan is, I think, 25, 26, something like that.
Yeah, he's like, I think he's 25.
He's not a kid. And he sat there on the bench, and they used to do it all the time with Caballero, and I know that Chelsea did it all the time.
That's what I'd say, yeah.
But there's no need to do that, is there? And it just the entire defence, because the person who can see all the play in front of you, the person who can tell you where the strikers are, tell you who to mark, the person who sort of shouts the instructions within that box, if they change sort of week on week, you don't know how they're going to react. Every keeper is different. So I think for sort of confidence in a defence, it just always makes things a bit weaker. And it was, a gutsy decision to keep him in for a semi-final against Liverpool, but I think it obviously backfired with the mistakes that he made. So maybe he'll think twice about, using a second.
Yeah. So that was Liverpool through to another final where they're going to lose to their opponents. Fingers crossed. So the Chelsea Palace game. We can probably skip all of the first half.
Wasn't great, was it?
Apart from Havertz being fouled and then getting booked for diving. He probably won't want to see that one again because it was a blatant dive. So, but second half, again, like Man City, they came out and they started I started to see sort of what I saw against Real Madrid. So, the passing was a lot slicker. I actually think Loftus-Cheek coming on for Kovacic, who was injured, I actually think I thought we actually played better going forward with him.
Yeah.
And it's a strange one with him because obviously he was at that point in his career, probably about this time 2 years ago, where he actually started playing for Chelsea regularly, and it was the same year that he got picked for the World Cup in Russia. It was the same season, and then he had that injury that obviously cost him a year of his career, and it almost like he had to rebuild again to get to obviously where he wants to get, and obviously what the fans want him to get to, and that's scoring goals for Chelsea.
Mm.
And I thought he came on, and I thought he was probably the best player on the pitch. I thought when we were going forward, he was running with the ball really well, and he was finding the players, like the passes and stuff. And it's just good to see him back, and showing the potential that he has.
Yeah,
I
he's
think it was
a
going to
calm
happen.
influence, I think, isn't he? Because I thought he had a game against Madrid, actually. I've been a bit critical of him the last few years, but he was one of your better players against Madrid. And I think when I've seen him previously, the defensive side of his game hasn't really existed, but I saw much more of it, especially against Madrid. So it looks like he's been working hard since he's been injured to kind of add to his game a bit, and it was really nice to see.
But yeah, it was a good thing. I know it took a deflection, but it was a good finish for him. And then obviously Mason Mount got the second. And that was through some good work from Timo Werner. He's another one that, he receives a lot of criticism, from a lot of fans and mostly not Chelsea fans, but he does put in a good shift. He can be, I know he's not, incredibly great in front of goal, but he has started scoring a few more recently, which is good to see. But, he does a lot of the dog work, getting the ball, and he does create chances. And
he reminds me a little bit, and I don't mean this in a harsh way, of Shane Long. But I remember Shane Long when he first sort of came to Southampton, and he was at Hull and Reading, and he would just run constantly the entire game, putting the defenders under pressure, chasing lost causes, a bit like Vardy does for Leicester, obviously very successfully. And that kind of striker, I know Vardy scores lots of goals, but even if they don't score the goals themselves, they're sort of either winning the ball back, which you go and score from, they're the pass before the assist, because they've just caused so many issues. They're just constantly running, looking to be on the shoulder of the defender. And it's difficult to play against, and he might not get the goals, but I think, especially the last, I'd say probably since the new year, actually, I think he's now sort of cemented, because Lukaku's kicked off, he's cemented the striker spot, if you like, although he's playing out wide. He's kind of the main attacking threat at the minute. With Havertz being in the false 10, you need Werner to sort of keep pushing forward and to keep dragging the team up the pitch, and I think he's been doing very well for that at the minute.
That's the three that he seems to be going with at the moment: Werner, Havertz, and Mount, which it seems to be working. So I don't think there's any reason why he would change it. I know Lukaku came on and missed an absolute sitter as well. He hit the post. He looks down on confidence at the moment, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was things being moved along outside of the football about him probably leaving. I don't think, last season, we won the Champions League, and we were quite far off the league, and I think he was the player that they brought in thinking that he was the missing piece of the puzzle, and he was the one that was going to score the 25 goals that we needed from someone. It just hasn't worked, and I think that's down to him in some respects, because he obviously did the interview sort of last October, November with that TV company, and it got broadcast, and obviously he hadn't spoken to anyone at Chelsea about it, and ever since then, really, he's not really started a huge amount of games. And I know Tuchel said before the game he was asked why Lukaku wasn't starting, and he just said that he wasn't fit. He's not fit enough to play at the moment. So I don't know. I think the thing is the money that you pay for him, you're not going to get anywhere near that. So I don't know. It's a hard one because what do you do? Do you sell him for sort of 3/4 of the price that you paid for him, and then look elsewhere? Because it's hard to find a decent striker. At the moment you've got Lewandowski and Haaland. I don't see Lewandowski leaving Bayern Munich, and Haaland's probably off to Man City. So
yeah, I think so. Hard to find someone that you think will do a better job at the minute.
I'd take Benzema at the moment, I'll tell you that. He scored against Chelsea. I'm sure he could do a job for someone. But it's these things of like, Lukaku was a bit different though, because he had played in the Premier League before.
Yeah.
For Man United, but he was terrible at Man United. So, and then he's gone to Italy and shone at Inter Milan, and then, he's come back and
he seems to do well in a sort of underdog role. I know you might argue that Man aren't really an underdog, but Juventus had won the title so many years in a row that they kind of were. And when he was at West Brom, obviously he scored tons of goals. At Everton, he scored tons of goals, but it sort of came without the pressure. When you're and you're expected to get 30 goals a year, and anything less than that is a failure, then I guess the pressure's on a little bit more than when you're at Everton, where it would be nice if you got 30 goals a year, don't get me wrong, but it's not a failure if you get 15, and that pressure off him, I think, tends to get the best out of him, maybe. So, then again, he scored a lot for Belgium as well, so maybe it's not a pressure thing. He doesn't seem to me to be a Tuchel signing. I think he's a board signing.
Yeah, I think he was. We need,
Yeah.
We need a number 9.
Turner didn't score many last year, so they panicked and bought another striker.
Yeah.
And he's not the type that suits the way Tuchel wants to play.
I was all for buying a striker. I think we overpaid for him. I think that's shown now. I always thought that it was too much money. But obviously the amount he was actually scoring in Italy, it looked like it was a good signing.
Yeah.
But maybe back to the drawing board on that one, and have to see what investment happens, in the summer with the new owners.
Yeah.
So that is it for this week on Talking Points. We will be back in part 2 with some Wonders of White quiz and Who Am I? Hello and welcome back to part 2 of View from Silent podcast. We are going to go head straight into the Wonders of White, and first up is about Cheltenham.
My second team.
Your second team. They played their 1,000th match today in the Football League.
Brilliant.
Not one to remember though, because I think they were 3-0 down at half time, I think. So,
they were 3-0 down after about 15 minutes, I think. It didn't go too well for them today. So but they are on for their highest ever league finish, so it's not been a bad thing overall.
Thomas Tuchel is 11 from 11 in progressing through a semi-final.
God, that's a good record, isn't it?
Yeah. So he's never lost a semi-final.
Not many people that can say that.
Yeah. And next one is about Benzema. Painful this one, but I'll read it. Benzema has scored 25 league goals this season, which is the most he's ever scored in a single campaign.
He's aging well, I'll give him that.
It's like a fine wine.
Yeah, he is. He is. I thought a couple of years ago he was out the door at Real. I thought MLS, here we come, but no, he's turned it round, and fair play to him.
I can certainly say he's definitely scoring goals.
Yeah.
And the next one is about an ex Premier League player, it's Marko Arnautovic. So he's actually scored in 6 consecutive league Serie A games for Bologna, which equals a 90-year record that they had.
Wow, I didn't realise he was even there. I thought he was out in China somewhere.
Well, he caught my eye the other day because he equalised against Juventus in the last minute. He scored a goal. And then I saw he scored again at the weekend, and then I saw that online it said that he equalled a 90-year record, which he'll break if he scores in the next game.
Nice. Good to know he's still going.
He was one of those when he went for the money, and now he's at Bologna.
Yeah. He was a good player on his day as well. It's a sort of shame that he did decide to do that, but...
Well, at the time, he was West Ham's best player.
Yeah.
When he left. But he was another one of those that threw toys out the pram. Because he was... I vaguely remember, wasn't he supposed to go... Like, he left in the January, but he was supposed to go, like, the summer before. But I think West Ham wouldn't let him go or something. They didn't want him to go to China, so... I don't know. Okay, so that was the Wonders of White. Next up, Liam. I believe you have a quiz.
I do have a quiz. So, as it was FA Cup semi-final weekend, I thought, why not revisit some classic FA Cup moments in a quiz? So, you've got 10 questions on legendary FA Cup games coming up. So, I'm hoping they're not too difficult. They span the decades, but I think you'll be okay. So,
okay, go on then.
Are you ready for question number 1? In 1972, Hereford produced the biggest upset in FA Cup history, knocking out Newcastle 2-1. But who scored stunning 85th minute equaliser for Hereford to take the tie to extra time? You may know that volley that is on all of the FA Cup clip shows.
I don't know. I know his name's Ronnie, but it's Ronnie something, isn't it?
It is Ronnie something.
So I can't. I wouldn't even be able to guess. Ronnie.
It's not far off. It is RR. It's Ronnie Radford.
Ronnie Radford
scored that incredible 30-yard volley.
I just remember hearing, it's literally the goal, the go-to FA Cup goal.
Yeah.
When they're doing the intro to sort of the FA Cup.
Yeah, that's the one.
I was surprised. I knew his name was Ronnie. I just didn't know his last
name. Question 2. This might bring about some horrific memories. In January 2015, Bradford City came from 2-0 down to beat Chelsea 4-2 at Stamford Bridge. But which former Blackburn and Sunderland striker scored Bradford's first goal?
The only guy I remember scoring that day was Jonathan Stead. It's probably not even him, but he's the only one I remember.
You are correct. It is indeed John Stead.
I think he scored twice, if I remember rightly.
Oh, I don't know if he scored. I know he scored.
I think he scored the first and the last.
But yeah, fair play. One of the more incredible FA Cup games. But I won't dwell on it too long, just because I know it's got some bad memories for you. So we'll go on to question number 3. So 1 out of 2 so far. Question number 3. In 1999, Ryan Giggs scored an extra time solo effort to beat Arsenal 2-1. But at which stadium did the game take place?
What year was it?
1999. So I can tell you it's not a clue, but there were no semi-finals at Wembley back then. It's not
played.
A clue.
No. Oh, blimey. I'm trying to think now of grounds.
And then he took his shirt off and revealed the hairiest chest that anyone has ever seen.
I'm trying to think where
Time is ticking.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm gonna say, because it wouldn't have been I don't think it would have been London. It wouldn't have been Manchester. So I'll just say Villa Park.
Correct.
It was Villa Park.
Villa Park. Yes, indeed it was. Scene of the legendary goal.
The best goal that's ever been scored at Villa Park.
Ever, yeah.
Well, the hairiest goal that's ever been scored.
Isn't it great that probably the best goal that's ever been scored at Villa Park wasn't scored by Villa? Just, sums it up really. 2 out of 3, that's good. So, question number 4. In 2006, Liverpool and West Ham drew 3-3 in the FA Cup final. But can you name any goal scorer that wasn't Steven Gerrard? Because we all remember that one, don't we? We all remember that goal, but can you name anyone else?
From either team, yeah?
From either team, yeah. You've got 4 to choose from, because Gerrard scored twice that day.
Oh, did he?
You got 4.
How about Gerrard, the one that nobody knows about, that goal?
The other Gerrard goal, no.
Oh no. So what year did you say? 2006. Oh goodness me. So Gerrard scored twice. So 2016, 2006. Oh my word.
Pretty much the team that won the Champions League.
The Champions League.
Against AC Milan.
I have no idea, and I can't be confident enough to say West Ham, but it probably would have been about the time that Zamora was probably playing. But then again, I could probably go for Crouch. I'll just say Zamora.
I believe Zamora was playing, but he didn't score. Put it that way.
Yeah.
You could have had Djibril Cissé, who scored Liverpool's other goal. I'd have given you Jamie Carragher because he scored an own goal. Dean Ashton and Paul Konchesky were the other scorers for West Ham that day. Paul Konchesky scoring a definite cross. I'm just saying it was like 40 yards out. So,
I would have gone with the Gerrard goal.
Yeah, the other Gerrard.
I wasn't allowed. Yeah, the first Gerrard goal.
We all remember that one. But okay, 2 out of 4. So a little bit more up to date now. So we're going to 2017.
Yeah.
Premier League Burnley were knocked out in the 5th round by a non-league team who went on to the quarter-finals. But can you name that non-league team? They beat Burnley 1-0 after
I remember
this round.
Because they're not a non-league team now, are they?
They're not a non-league team.
No, it's Lincoln.
It is Lincoln City. Well done. Yeah. I think they're the non-league team that made it the furthest in the competition, I think, off the top of my head. But yeah, made it all the way to the quarterfinals. And now doing very well in League One, I think. So, it's good use of the FA Cup money. More non-league stuff for you now.
No.
Because they are a non-league team now, but they weren't at the time. But in 1997, Chesterfield and Middlesbrough drew 3-3 in an FA Cup semi-final. But which future Bolton legend and England striker played the full 120 minutes for Chesterfield that day? It's one of the trickier ones, but there's a reason that I put it in, and I'm going to tell you now while you're thinking. There's a fun fact about this game is that Sean Dyche scored a penalty for Chesterfield in that game. That's the reason why I added it in, but it wasn't thinking of for the answer.
So, 99. So he went on to play for England, did you say?
He did, yeah. So he was a youngster at Chesterfield, and then he went on to play for a number of clubs, but he's probably most well known for playing for Bolton later in his career, and while he was at Bolton, he also got in the England side. I think he only played a few times, or maybe even only once.
For England? For
England. Played a lot of times for Bolton.
I'm still getting over the fact that Sean Dyche has scored in this game.
I was surprised as anyone looking at. I was looking at researching the quiz earlier today.
Yeah.
I just saw his name on the score sheet, and I thought I've got to include it somehow.
I'm going to say that I have no idea. Not a clue.
Fair enough. This was probably the most difficult one. It was Kevin Davis who
Kevin
played for
Davis.
Sheffield that day. A very young Kevin Davis, who then I think got his move to Southampton, I think, or Blackburn, or someone like that.
Oh, right.
And then obviously played and scored loads for Bolton. 3 out of 6 so far, 50%, but a strong finish. Could put you in a good position. So I think you'll get this one. A bit more modern now. Who scored from the halfway line as Liverpool beat Luton 5-3 in an entertaining third round game in 2006?
Liverpool versus
Luton. It ended 5-3, and there was a goal from
the Spanish guy. Alonso. Xabi Alonso.
Yeah, I would have given you Alonso. Xabi Alonso, who loved a goal from his own half.
He was a really good player, wasn't he?
He was a great player,
He was
to be
really,
fair.
really good player, yeah.
He could properly hit a ball. Yeah, well done. 4 out of 7.
Yeah.
Question number 8. In 1953, cue the moment. In 1953, Watson scored a hat-trick as Blackpool beat Bolton 4-3, but by what name is this final affectionately known as?
The FA.
It is not the FA Cup final.
The 1953 FA Cup final, I believe that's what it was called. There's a name for it.
Yes, there is. There's a name that everyone remembers it, because even though Stan Mortensen scored a hat-trick, there was another player playing in that game who...
Okay, so it's named after a person?
Named after a player who played in that game.
I have no idea. The dyche derby.
I like your thinking. There's been a lot of Sean Dyche. It was the Matthews final, because
Stanley Matthews. Right.
The best player by a million miles on the day, which you'd be annoyed about if you scored a hat-trick and the final wasn't named after you. But as it's Stanley Matthews, I'll let him off. So question number 9. In 1988, the Crazy Gang, Wimbledon, beat Liverpool 1-0. But what nickname did John Motson give that Liverpool side in the final that day? He actually ended the final by saying the Crazy Gang have beaten the something.
They beat the Liverpool Lions.
It's the Culture Club. Crazy Gang have beaten the Culture Club. Not doing too well on this one, Chris. You need this 50%, but we're going more modern again, so you got a chance, I think. Wigan won their first FA Cup final in 2013, beating Man City, but who scored the winner that day?
I know this one.
Seem confident.
I know this one. The ginger guy. The ginger guy. It's the ginger guy, isn't it?
It is a ginger guy.
Ben.
It's not Sean Dyche.
It's not Sean Dyche, so the only other ginger guy that I know. Ben. It's Ben something, isn't it? Is it even Ben?
Yes.
Oh, Ben. Ben Watson? No.
You are correct. It is
It
Ben
is Ben
Watson.
Watson.
I'll put you out of your misery. 5 out of 10. I did make it particularly tricky this week, so well done. 5 out of 10 is a solid score for that.
Get ready for next week when we are learning the 1889
The 1889
domestic league stats. No, that was a good quiz. They need to be harder, really, don't they?
I just thought I'd add in a few older questions. He won't mind me saying this, mostly for my dad, who moans at me that says football began before the Premier League, so Dad, that one's for you.
See if he can get more than me.
Yeah, I'll get him to let me know, and I'll post my dad's scores every week.
Cool. Well, we're going to end on a Who Am I? Now, this is particularly quite easy. And it, like your quiz, it is FA Cup themed, but there's a story behind it, okay?
Okay.
So these are the teams that he has played for. Now, I am going to not start. I'm going to go from where he finished his career first.
Okay.
Just because the first teams that he played for, I think, will give it away. So he finished his career at Derby.
Right.
And before Derby, he was at LA Galaxy. And before LA Galaxy, he was at Roma.
Oh, God.
He was then at said team that I won't mention. And then before then, he was at Palace on loan. And then he was at another team that I shan't mention. He started his career there. Now, I can give you some clues.
Hang on, so Derby...
So he finished his career at Derby.
LA Galaxy.
Before that, he was at LA Galaxy.
And Roma before that.
Yeah.
That's quite the career.
And he signed to Roma from a Premier League club.
Right. Okay. You've gone from Rome to LA to Derby. You're going from glamorous city to Derby. What a move that is.
I can't tell you how many games he played for Derby, but I remember he played a few.
Oh, God.
I can give you a clue.
Yeah, go on then.
So the first clue is it was Frank Lampard that signed him for Derby.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. That helps me. Because I think the two clubs that you missed out are two London clubs.
They are.
And I think the Crystal Palace loan spell was very, very early on in his career.
It was.
And I think he posed for a photo with the Rome team where he was standing about 5 yards away from them trying to lean in. I think it's Ashley Cole.
That's right, yeah. It is Ashley Cole.
Excellent.
And do you know the reason why I've chosen Ashley Cole?
I don't.
I believe he is the most decorated player when it comes to FA Cup wins.
Really?
I think he's won 8 FA Cups.
Blimey.
Because I think he won at least 3 or 4 with Arsenal, and I know he won 4 at least with Chelsea.
That's pretty good going, to be fair.
Yeah.
He was in a hotel down the road from me the other day because England under-21s were around, and I think he's coaching them. Oh,
right, yeah. I thought if I went in the order that he played, and I went from Arsenal to Chelsea to Roma to Elliot, I thought that was too obvious, so I went backwards. But yeah, well done.
That's good. I like that.
And the Frank Lampard thing, Frank Lampard signed him. I think he left LA Galaxy and he was without a club, and then Lampard did the honorary thing of letting him play. I think he did play quite a bit for them.
I think he did for a year at least. I think he was pretty regular for them. I want to say it was the year that we beat them in the playoff final, or it might have been the year after, but I seem to remember him playing quite a bit.
Yeah. Cool. Right, that's it for this week. Anything else, Liam?
Nothing from me.
Okay, so we will speak to you next week.